and thank you for joining us for the weekly Top 4 webinar. For those of you that have signed in for the webinar or who have just called in to listen on your phone, we appreciate having you join us. As always, we'll talk about the top 4 issues at the legislature facing OEA this week. Today we're going to cover vouchers, the payroll deduction legislation, statewide charter expansion, and some testing legislation that I think you'll find interesting. So joining us in the room today, we have our legislative and political organizer for the western half of the state, Chanson Flick.
Howdy, everybody.
Legislative and political organizer for the east half of the state, Ivy Riggs. Hello. We've got our communications specialist, Lauren Burkholder. Hi. We have a special guest today for the southeast part of the state, our organizer in the southeast, Jerry Gossett.
Hello.
And then we've also got an extra special guest, our president, OEA's president, Linda Hampton.
Good afternoon.
And I am OEA's legislative and political director, Amanda Ewing. So let's get started. Topic number 1 is vouchers. Now, I'll tell you, when we put together this list a couple hours ago, it was going to come with a great big request to please take action on vouchers, but I am very pleased to say that Senator Jolly, the author of Senate Bill 609, decided not long ago this afternoon that he is not hearing his voucher bill this session. Now, as you'll recall, this is a deadline week, so any House bills not heard by the full House floor or Senate bills not heard by the full Senate floor by the end of tomorrow are dead for the session and won't come back until at least next year. And Senator Jolly decided to hold over his voucher bill, Senate Bill 609, and so unless someone sneaks a bill into some sneaky thing later in session, then we can cheer that vouchers are dead for 2015. So that is great news. So thank you very much for all of the calls to your senators. Your LPO team was at the Capitol this week talking to a lot of them, and they definitely heard from you. We heard how much they heard from you, and that contact most definitely makes a difference. If Senator Jolly had the bill, the votes to pass that bill, then he definitely would have heard it this week. So it's a testament, I think, to the statewide effort to defeat that bill that he decided not to hear it. So let's move on then to topic number 2, payroll deduction. Chanson, tell us about that.
Thank you, Amanda. As many of you know, House Bill 1749 by Representative Tom Newell has been assigned to the Senate General Government Committee. This bill specifically targets OEA members by outlawing the ability for them to deduct their dues through payroll deduction. This is a clear attempt from certain legislators to silence the voice of educators at the Capitol. If you or your senator happens to be on the committee, and the committee should be viewed on the screen right there, please give them a call or send them an email urging them to vote no on this bill. If your senator is not on the committee, you can still be of great assistance by contacting Senator Nathan Dahm. He's the chair of the committee, and we would request that you ask him not to hear the bill in the committee. If any of you happen to need some help finding who your senator might be, you can go to okhouse.gov, okhouse.gov, and in the bottom right of the screen is a Find Your Legislator tool. If you need any other help other than that, please give me a call directly here at OEA. My phone number is 405-523-4359. And that's all I have on that issue, so I'll throw that back to Amanda.
All right. Topic number 3 is statewide expansion of charter schools. As you know, right now, charters are only authorized in Oklahoma City and Tulsa school districts, and there are 2 bills, so this is some bad news for the week, I guess, 2 bills that passed both the House and Senate floor this week that would allow charter schools to be opened anywhere in the state. We're talking about Representative Denny's House Bill 1696 and Senator Jolly's Senate Bill 782. Now, these bills were heavily amended before they were able to make it off the floor. They include a lot of the amendments that we saw talk about who can authorize, and if we're talking about counties outside of Oklahoma and Tulsa County, a local district will have to be the one that authorizes the charter school in our smaller communities. We've got a statewide cap of 5 charter schools per year that can be opened in the state of Oklahoma for each of the first 5 years of these programs, with no more than 1 school in your district per year. But as you know, as we've mentioned before, we're already far too low on funding. We're still down about $200 million from where we were in 2008. We have not near enough funding for existing public schools, so creating more school sites around the state is not going to help us with our funding problem at all. There's other legislation out there to increase the funding to charter schools because existing charters are saying they don't have enough money to get by as it is, and they need more state money to get by. And so, that's another reason we do not support more charters. A third one being that charter schools do not guarantee, they're not required to have a certified teacher in every classroom, or any classroom for that matter. They're not required to include their teachers in any sort of pension or retirement system. There are a lot of reasons that charter schools cause us concern. There are some accountability measures in these bills that are better than we've seen in other states. Charter schools will be subject to the Open Meetings and Open Records Act, which is good news compared to what we've seen in some states. Their financial records are a little more transparent, and their boards must be made up of at least half Oklahomans. I guess we're at a could-be-worse situation here, but, we by no means support this bill. OEA definitely still opposes statewide expansion of charter schools. So while we were disappointed to see these bills make it out of the House and Senate this week, now they will trade places, and the House bill will head to the Senate and vice versa, and we will continue to fight these bills. So we are still definitely looking for allies on fighting these bills, particularly if you live in a rural or suburban community. I think that there's a misperception that a charter won't come to my community. We've heard some legislators, talk about that. But when you look at other states surrounding us that are of similar populations, when you look at Arkansas or Colorado or Arizona, when you look and see what's happened in those states with charter schools, there's absolutely no reason to believe that there is any community that a charter school won't target to come to. And so if this is a concern to you or to your school board or your administrators, then I hope that you'll be reaching out to them so that we can work on increasing our opposition to these bills when they make it to the other side of the Capitol and are heard in committee and on the floor. All right, Ivy, let's hear about some good news in the world of testing legislation.
This is a really good week for testing legislation in both sides of the legislature. 3 bills passed their House this week that do away with the current EOI system, so end of instruction tests. So there are 3 bills that would do away with end of instruction tests, and they're a little bit different. Senator Ford, Senate Bill 707, and Senator Jolly, 784, both give the State Department some control once the new standards are written to make sure that any new assessment adopted would be aligned with our new standards, but it gives the State Department some control, so it doesn't name what test it has to be. There are some talks of it being the ACT, but that's not in the bill. The other bill that passed was on the House side. Representative Derby's House Bill 1622 would mandate for us to move to the Iowa Basic Skills Test, but it also does away with the EOI. So we're happy with going away from the EOI and going toward college and career ready is what we're asking for there. Senate Bill 708 passed also the Senate this week. That would eliminate all but the tests that were federally mandated for grades 3 through 8. This bill came up last year and almost made it through, so it's halfway through this year. And it would do away with anything that the federal government doesn't require, so some social studies testing, some writing tests, and some fine arts assessments. 2 bills that address the third grade retention or the Reading Sufficiency Act passed. The first one, Senate Bill 630 by Senator Ford, and then Senator Jolly's Senate Bill 785. They both extend the team decision that was put in last year for whether third graders are promoted or retained, and we like that. That would go way after this year if one of these bills don't pass. So we're happy that RSA solution is still alive. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is from Senator Halligan out of Stillwater. Senate Bill 162 addresses some of our special ed students. It gives the State Department the ability to work on some test relief for our students with the most severe cognitive disabilities. Some of that is federally mandated and can't be helped, but there are some that our state has imposed over and above the federal mandate. So this gives our State Department some leeway, and we have been working with them, and we're encouraged by what we think they'll do with this bill. That's all I have on testing, Amanda.
All right, so that concludes our top 4 at 4. Just a couple quick announcements. On Sunday, March 22nd, we will, at 2 p.m., have our telephone town hall. So stay tuned for that. We'll be discussing pensions, payroll deduction, legislation, and the rally that'll just be a week out at that point. And then speaking of the rally, don't forget March 30th is the Brighter Future Rally led by the Oklahoma PTA and supported by the Oklahoma Education Coalition. We had the great news, we heard yesterday that Lawton and Idabel are the most recent to announce that they are letting out school for the rally and will be in full force here in Oklahoma City on the 30th. So if your school hasn't already made that call, make sure you're talking to your colleagues and your administrators and school board, and make sure that you guys aren't left out of what's sure to be a great event on March 30th. So we also had joining us right after the introductions is the OEA Executive Director David Duvall. So David, do you and President Linda Hampton have any goodbyes or well wishes before we sign off?
Well, I just want to say we are still doing our happy dance here because vouchers are dead. And I want to thank everybody for calling because you made a difference. And I want to thank our LPO staff because they made a difference in telling us when to call and what bills to call about. And I think it shows teamwork, and together we all made that difference.
And this is David, and I want to echo what Linda just said, but also remind everyone that we've got a lot of big issues that are going to be coming up. Budget issues are coming up. I'll remind you that since 2008, Oklahoma has cut school funding by 23.6%, by far the largest cut of any state in the country, and they're talking about even more cuts this year. We've got to stop them. The economic policies of this legislature and this administration are absolute failures, and we've got to turn that around for the future of Oklahoma, and it will only happen if all of us are actively contacting our legislators and making sure that they support public schools and not cut them further.
All right, thanks everyone. If you want to listen to this again or share it maybe at your upcoming building rep meeting or meeting of your local, then it will be available on Facebook tomorrow afternoon, and stay tuned on Friday for our regular weekly legislative update email. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.